Hello, my name is Allison Kelberlau, and I am the Assistant Director of Student Services at ESU3. With me today is my colleague, Whitney Fagan. Whitney is a Special Education Coordinator at ESU3 and also serves as a Secondary Transition Regional Facilitator for the Metro Region. We would like to take a few moments to explore universal design for learning with an emphasis on strategies for supporting students with disabilities. Universal design for learning is connected to three key ideas. UDL operates on the belief that all students are capable of learning and thriving when provided with equitable opportunities and high expectations. This perspective emphasizes the importance of creating learning environments where barriers to success are minimized and all students are given the tools and support they need. By setting high expectations, educators communicate their belief in every student's ability to succeed. UDL ensures these expectations are attainable by offering multiple pathways to learning. By valuing variability, UDL recognizes that every student learns differently and encourages flexible teaching methods to address diverse needs. This approach acknowledges that factors such as cultural background, language, prior experiences, cognitive abilities, and physical or sensory challenges influence how students engage with, process, and express their learning. To address this, UDL promotes the use of multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression, enabling educators to provide a variety of materials, tools, and activities that cater to individual strengths and preferences. UDL fosters inclusive practices by providing the framework to design learning environments that are accessible and welcoming to all, ensuring that students with disabilities are fully included and supported in achieving their potential. UDL promotes a culture of collaboration where teachers, students, and families work together to create a supportive and inclusive community. Through these practices, UDL not only supports students with disabilities, but also enhances the learning experience for all students by fostering empathy, diversity, and shared growth. As you read this quote from the book, Designing for Inclusion, we ask that you take time to reflect on your beliefs and attitude. We recognize that beliefs shape our perceptions of others, influencing how we approach challenges, opportunities, and relationships. For example, holding a positive belief in a student's potential encourages us to provide them with meaningful support and high expectations, fostering growth and confidence. Research consistently shows that when educators adopt a growth mindset and presume competence, students are more likely to engage, persevere, and succeed. Our attitudes also ripple outward, shaping the culture of our classrooms and communities where inclusivity, respect, and optimism can empower everyone to contribute and thrive. As Whitney explores important steps in supporting students with disabilities, consider how you can create a positive ripple effect within your classroom, school, and district.
When designing lessons to the edges for students with disabilities, the first and most important step is knowing your students. This is something critical in all teaching contexts. However, for students with disabilities, there are specific considerations we must prioritize. Let's start with individualized education plans, or IEPs. It is essential for teachers and administrators to have access to and a thorough understanding of the full IEP. While IEP at a glance documents can be helpful, they are not a substitute for the complete plan. Remember, every educator involved is responsible for ensuring the IEP is fully implemented. The IEP provides critical information, including goals and objectives, present levels of academic and functional performance, accommodations and modifications, strengths and needs, as well as service minutes and required supports. When we design to the edges, we must carefully consider these components. Accommodations and modifications should be planned proactively, guided by what is outlined in the IEP. Taking time to align our lessons with the student's specific needs ensures greater success for everyone. In addition to the IEP, we must also use student data to inform our planning. This includes more than just progress monitoring on IEP goals and objectives. Incorporate prerequisite checks, pre-tests and post-tests, ongoing progress monitoring during lessons. This data helps us understand where students are and what supports they need as the lesson unfolds. It's equally important to recognize that not all valuable information is black and white or written down. Informal data, such as conversations with students, student inventories, and soliciting student input are all approaches that help us humanize our planning process. While detailed lesson plans are important, we must also remain responsive to the individual needs and experience of all of our students. Therefore, the reminder is that knowing your students with disabilities involves the additional responsibility of understanding their IEPs, along with leveraging both formal and informal data and making connections with them on a personal level. By doing so, we can design lessons that truly meet the diverse needs of all learners, ensuring every student has the opportunity to succeed. This may seem overwhelming, and that is why we are here to discuss how to design to the edges in an obtainable manner. As we discuss designing to the edges, it's essential to reference the Universal Design for Learning Guidelines, now in their 3.0 edition. These guidelines provide a powerful framework for ensuring all learners have access to meaningful and challenging learning opportunities in a way that is approachable for our teaching staff. As Katie Novak's website explains, the guidelines offer a set of concrete suggestions that can be applied to any discipline or domain to ensure that all learners can access and participate in meaningful, challenging learning opportunities. The UDL guidelines are invaluable because they encourage us to shift our perspective from using labels to determine what students need to focusing on student variability, context, and data. It's important to remember that the same learning variability seen in students with IEPs may also exist in students without IEPs. That's why UDL is such a powerful tool for meeting the needs of all students. One common misconception is confusing accommodations with good teaching practices. UDL reminds us that many strategies we may think of as accommodations can and should be available to all learners as part of universal inclusive instruction. By leveraging these guidelines, we are adopting practices that not only benefit students with IEPs, but also support all learners. To support your work, we've provided a link to the updated UDL guidelines. By exploring the guidelines, you'll find concrete examples of how they can be applied in a classroom setting. These practical suggestions are an excellent resource for designing lessons that address diverse learning needs. That said, it's important to remember that UDL is not a one-size-fits-all solution. The purpose of UDL is to move away from the one-size-fits-all mindset in lesson plans. While applying its principles can significantly benefit all students, particularly those in special populations, we must still know our students individually, and as we learn more about UDL, we can be more strategic in which principles to really focus on as we plan forward. Incorporating UDL principles in your classroom will help ensure a more inclusive environment that promotes success for every student. One designed not only for accessibility of our population of students with disabilities, but also for meaningful engagement and growth. Let's put the Universal Design for Learning principles into action with a practical scenario. Imagine an inclusive 9th grade English classroom co-taught by a general education teacher and a special education teacher who have a weekly co-planning period. The learning goal for this lesson that they are focusing on is for students to demonstrate comprehension of informative texts and being able to utilize a writing process to produce writing samples. To achieve this goal, students will need to demonstrate skills in decoding fluency, comprehension, vocabulary knowledge, and written expression. Using the UDL framework, we can intentionally design the lesson to provide multiple means of engagement, representation, and action expression to meet the needs of all learners, including students with disabilities. For example, with the principle multiple means of engagement, a way to support engagement would be to offer students 3 options for interacting with the text, such as reading independently if they are students who are comfortable with self-directed reading, listening to the text using headphones paired with visual and audio supports to aid comprehension, or participating in a shared reading group led by one of the co-teachers to foster collaborative learning. Providing these choices helps students engage with the material in a way that matches their preference and needs and truly requires the students no additional work or lesson creating. Now with multiple means of representation. Remember, representation focuses on how we present information to ensure it is accessible to all learners. In this scenario, some ways we could design the lesson is by including options such as a vocabulary list with definitions, posted in the classroom and provided as handouts for student folders, supporting that vocabulary acquisition. Graphic organizers like outlines or story maps to help students identify main ideas and supporting details. Think alouds by teachers to model how to extract key points from the text, scaffolding comprehension. Or assistive technologies like text-to-speech tools, closed captioning, and visual aids to make the content more accessible for diverse learners. Providing these supports ensures students can process the text effectively, regardless of their learning profile. Finally, multiple means of action and expression. Here we consider how students can demonstrate their understanding. In this scenario, students can choose from varied output formats. Some examples you may plan for could be A student that may prefer traditional methods sticks with writing a paragraph to demonstrate their understanding. A student may create a verbal recording if they find oral expression to be more accessible, or possibly having a student design a visual summary, such as an infographic or comic strip for those who excel in visual spatial representation. Additionally, when planning, we would plan for breaking the task into manageable steps, helping students stay organized and focused. Or another idea may be to incorporate a peer writing and sharing process, encouraging collaboration and feedback. By planning with these UDL principles, the co-teachers ensure that all students, including those with disabilities, have equitable access to the learning goal. This approach not only supports specific IEP goals, but also fosters a more inclusive and engaging learning environment. The takeaway here is that designing with UDL principles benefits all learners by offering flexibility, scaffolding, and meaningful opportunities to succeed, while addressing individual needs in a thoughtful and proactive way. Something to think about is that a lot of these activities or structures that we just discussed are not assignment specific. They are means that you create and that can then be pulled for multiple lessons. So do not overwhelm yourself to start. Pick one and add one as you get more comfortable. Such as if you want to create a peer writing and sharing process, create that and offer that to your students multiple times. And once that becomes an understood process, you can then go on to create another universal learning structure to incorporate into multiple lessons.
Thanks, Whitney. UDL provides a proactive framework for creating accessible and flexible learning environments that enable all students, including those with disabilities, to participate meaningfully alongside their peers. This aligns with the provision of Least Restrictive Environment, or LRE. LRE emphasizes educating students with disabilities in general education settings to the maximum extent appropriate. UDL reduces barriers and provides the scaffolding needed to support diverse learners. Earlier in the video, Whitney emphasized the importance of understanding students' IEPs. Specially Designed Instruction, or SDI, refers to the tailored teaching methods and strategies used to meet the unique needs of students with disabilities as outlined in their IEPs. It involves adapting the content, methodology, or delivery of instruction to ensure that students with disabilities can access the general education curriculum and make meaningful progress toward their IEP goals. For example, SDI could involve breaking tasks into smaller steps, providing additional visual supports, or using assistive technology to enhance learning. We have shared a resource with you from Novak Education with a continuum of supports and services for students with disabilities. The goal of SDI is to remove barriers to learning and ensure that individualized supports and accommodations are seamlessly integrated into inclusive classrooms. Together, UDL and inclusive practices promote equity, foster collaboration, and empower all students to achieve their potential in environments designed to support diversity. There are countless resources available, and we wanted to share a few of our favorites with you. This slide includes links to a podcast, a TED Talk, a guidance document, and a book. We hope these resources provide valuable insights as you deepen your understanding of UDL and continue to promote inclusive practices. Whitney and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this brief video today. We are inspired daily by the incredible work happening in districts across the ESU3 region. If there's any way we can support your efforts, particularly in supporting students with disabilities, please don't hesitate to reach out. Whether you have a question, need a resource, want to share a success, or update us on your UDL journey, we are happy to help. Our contact information is included on the final slide. Thank you again for your time and for all the amazing work you do.